Hey, it's Sizzling Popcorn, and welcome to episode 2 of our tutorial series with OnAir Airline Manager. If you missed it, the first one was a very brief overview of what OnAir Airline Manager is. And in essence, it's pretty much a career mode for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but not only that, for prepared, so P3D, X-Plane, FSX. So it's actually good for many simulators, but we're going to be concentrated on Microsoft Flight Simulator because that's pretty much all we do here on the channel. So in this video, what we're going to look at is setting up your first company and getting that first plane. And so we'll be looking at choosing a world, creating your avatar, getting your first aircraft, and setting up your first job. In the next episode, what we're going to do is we're then going to execute that job. So that will be coming up in the third video. But for this video, we're going to start off with choosing your world. As I said in the previous video, there are 3 worlds: the Cumulus, Stratus, and Thunder. Cumulus is more of your relaxed and casual world. You have access to AI pilots, and it's very easy economy, lots of bonuses, but because of that, there's no leaderboard. In Stratus, it's more challenging. You still have access to pilots, but the economy, it's more challenging, less bonuses, and there is a leaderboard available. Both in Cumulus and Stratus, if you want to start a virtual airline with humans, you can have up to 10 participants. So that is a limitation on both of those worlds. But on Thunder, because everything is done by humans, there is no limit to how many you can have in your virtual airline. You'll still have AI pilots and staff. So you're going to have training staff, maintenance staff, cabin crew, co-pilots. Still gonna have to hire them, but all the flights will have to be flown by you or another human in the simulator. What we're gonna do throughout this series and on the channel, on the live streams, we're gonna do the Stratus world, and in each world you've got 2 options, whether you do a small company or an airline. And actually, you can have a company in all 3 of the worlds, one in each one. Or let's say you can also move from one world to another, but I can't confirm if all your stuff moves over. I don't think so. I think it's more so your name and stuff. You can transfer it over to a different world. But each world, you've got either a small company or airline. The small company, you start off with 0 experience, nothing, except for $10,000 in your back pocket. While with the airline, you start off at about level 3 for experience wise, and you actually might have more than one certification, because you should be able to have a certification to get an airliner. And you also get, I think it's about $1.5 million. But the difference with that is it's a loan. So you're gonna have to pay that back. What we're gonna do in this tutorial series and in the live streams is we're gonna do start a small company. So let's get that started. Company name, we're going to call it Sizzling Popcorn Airlines. And while I'm talking about that, if you want to become a Sizzling Popcorn Airlines frequent flyer member, you can do so just below this video. There should be a join button. That would be becoming a member of the YouTube channel, and that you get some perks such as some emojis during live streams, or even to use in the comment section, and in return, it will help out you're helping to support the channel so that I can put food on the table and also provide you with some valuable reviews and content, so that you're not spending money on things that you don't like. So you watch some of my reviews and then you're like, oh well, yeah, don't want to buy that. Yeah. So sometimes I can save you a lot more than the $5 a month that it is for the membership. Airline code here, we're gonna go with sizzling. So Sierra Zulu Lima November, and then pseudonym sizzling popcorn. Pilot birthday, that's the default. We're just gonna leave it as is. And actually that changes every day. It just keeps it the same year, 1993, so that this is the youngest you could be is 20 years old. So sorry if you're 18, you're gonna have to wait 2 years to get on-air flight on-air airline manager, I guess. Flight experience, we're gonna put a 1,000. I've got more than that, but really it's like a vanity number. Like, it doesn't have any effect in the game. Initial location, initially I went with Halifax, my home airport, and this is where things get very strategic, because although you can change the time in the simulator, you'll never be able to change the weather. So if it's if where you live or where you want to start off your airline, it's known for bad weather, like let's say like St. John's, Newfoundland, it's always foggy, or like London or England, where it's always like raining and lots of clouds, you might not want to fly there. You can, it might be a challenge for you, or you might enjoy it going through the clouds and you get through it. But the issue will be with your AI pilots. There will be lots of flight diversions. It's like if you went to Florida, you went to Miami, well, you're gonna have hurricane season. If you're up in the North America or like the northern hemisphere, well, even in the southern hemisphere, but when it's winter time, if it's really gets bad in the winter time, yeah, flights are gonna get diverted or canceled. So I was gonna go with Halifax, and then I was like, hey, I can incorporate real life, like human ATC, which you could do with VATSIM. But VATSIM here in Halifax, the coverage, there's Moncton Mondays that has the coverage for Halifax, and then the rest of the week it's pretty much hit or miss. But that's at nighttime. During the day, midday, there might never be any ATC. However, I then thought, hey, I gotta redo this anyways, so why not? Let's go out to the West Coast. We're gonna go to Kilo Foxtrot Zulu Falcon Field. This is a size 2 airport, so it's got the biggest runway is the longest runway is 5,000 feet, or just over 5,000 feet. A size 5 is over 10,000. So Halifax is at 10,000. Falcon Field is just in the area of Mesa or Phoenix, Arizona. And the reason for this is because it is covered by Pilot Edge. And if you don't know what Pilot Edge is, it is human. I almost said human trafficking, but it's like human air traffic control. And these people they're either real ATC controllers or they're retired and they're doing this as a service. So they have coverage of pretty much all of the west coast of the US, or the western US. It's about like 40-50% of the US that's covered, and that's all on the west side. and they provide coverage pretty much like 12, 13 hours per day, 7 days a week at 363. Because there's 2 days that they're completely closed, and that's U.S. Thanksgiving and on Christmas Day. But the thing is when there's no live air traffic control, then the radios are still open, so you can still communicate with other pilots that are on Pilot Edge at that time. So that's why we're going to go to the West Coast. And the simulator, here you can go with Microsoft Flight Simulator, but if you got P3D version 4 or higher or X-Plane, you could choose those. Because this is on the 64-bit version of the game. If you've got the 32 bits, you'll only have access to P3D version 3 or FSX. Tycoon mode, that is if you're going to play this without flying it in the simulator, so you're just going to manage AI pilots, you can go into Tycoon mode. But we're not doing that. But we definitely wanted to go into Microsoft Flight Simulator. So we're going to do that. Just got to choose an avatar. And I still haven't found a bald-headed or shaved-headed guy. I don't know. That looks like a woman that doesn't have hair. So let's see. Can we find one quick? Well, we'll go with him. All right. So let's create this, and welcome to OnAir Airline Manager. You finally made it. Business is now open. All right, so we got $10,000 in cash. We got one employee, that is ourselves. What I want to do first is I want to go to options, global settings. Here, you can change the synthetic voice from David desktop to Zero desktop. You know, that's not a big thing here. But the big thing here is the company UTC offset. So right now, for me locally, it's 10 o'clock at night, 2200. So UTC, that is 1 a.m. So if I fly at this time all the time, I'm going to be flying in the dark. And if I use like smaller airports that are close by, a lot of small airports aren't lit up at night, so it's going to be very tough to see. So what you can do in that case is you can put an offset. Let's say 6 hours. If you're always going to fly at 10 o'clock at night, you put it at 6 hours. It's now 4 o'clock local time. But for me, in my case, the now Mesa or Phoenix, they're 3 hours behind me right now. So they're UTC -6. So if we just keep it at 0, they're right now in Phoenix, it's 1900. So that's fine. If I could put a little bit of an offset, but if I'm gonna fly at 8 o'clock my time, well then it's 5 o'clock their time. So like, you don't have to put an offset, but you just don't want to fly in the dark all the time. And you can go either 12 hours back or 12 hours forward. Some of the other options that you need to consider here: use small airports. I've got that checked. So a level 0 airport, it's like, I think it's like 2,000 feet is the longest runway there. Or I think that's a 1. I think 0 is like a water landing. But so yeah, you want to make sure like you want to use small airports or not. It can be tricky, especially if your aircraft can't even land there, and especially when you're on like Stratus or the hardest world. The thing with those two is you've got to watch out for your landing rate. and crash damage is on, and you've got more stringent rules in those two worlds. So you're not going to take a A310 and go land on an at an airport that has a runway of 2,000 feet. It's not gonna happen, and it's not gonna be good for you. Failures during a simulator flight. Your aircraft deteriorates over time, so when it starts to get into the red, there could be failures. Well, do you want that failure to happen while you're in a flight simulator? No, I don't want it. So uncheck that. Register flight on engine shutdown. Yeah, that's good. In-flight autosave. That's good. So then that way, if your PC crashes, you can then take off from the your flight from the same spot. This can impact performances on some systems. So if you have a lower end system, you might not want to have that checked. Some of the other things here. Announce win on final approach. That's good. Write tail number in simulator. No, I just leave sizzling as my tail number. Pre-filled destination when loading payload. Good. Realistic procedures in simulator. Rescue missions, sightseeing missions, races, and base camp and factories. If you want to have those, better check them all. And if you want to have this, there are two other packages that you have to download, unzip, and then take that folder, slap it into your community folder. I did mention that in the overview video, so you'll want to do that. And then over here, you've got delete my company. So you're bound to make mistakes. So if you ever want to restart, hey, I've actually restarted this, I think like 3-4 times already. Just a couple different takes. In the last one, I completely forgot at this point that my mic was muted, and then I was talking about this, and I looked and I saw, wait a second, my mic's not even going. So then I was like, I need to start this over again. So delete the company. But if you're going on vacation for a couple of weeks, you'll want to pause my company, and I'll pause it until you resume it. So we're going to come down here, click on save. So we're going to now go back to our dashboard. So at the bottom, tips, that's always a great place to look at. One of the first places to look at, because it's going to give you some important things. Like here, it's talking about getting your first aircraft. They're also getting your first job. But before we jump into getting your first aircraft, let's click on your employee, which is yourself. Manage. So here, it's some of the information I already put in, my 1,000 flight hours. And then as I fly with the company, it'll be total in company and total flight hours. And you're not really going to get a salary unless you're working for another VA. Transport and relocate. You can transport, like, let's say from Falcon Field to Phoenix Harbor, or Phoenix Sky Harbor. You can like just the transport, or you can completely relocate to another area. But the important thing here before we go into the aircraft is looking at your class certification. When you're starting with a small business, you're going to start off with a single engine piston land. If you start with an airline, you should have more class certifications, just because you're starting at a higher level and going after the airliners rather than the GA aircraft. So this is good to remember. Let's go back to the dashboard. We're gonna go click under the tips, your first aircraft. Here you can then search for your aircraft that you've loaded into the simulator, and that's like the current one that you have in a simulator. So I've got the Comanche. that's the airport, or sorry, that's the aircraft that I want. But we'll just browse here the market manually, and then you can sort this by simulator, or you can have all simulators. The thing is, when you're buying an aircraft or leasing or renting it, so up here put all simulators or specific. Your AI pilots, they can fly whatever. If it's an aircraft that's not in Microsoft Flight Simulator but it's in P3D or X-Plane, well, you can buy that and the AI can fly it, but you can never fly it because you need to own the aircraft. Like, in reality, you have to have it on your simulator in order to fly it. So that's one thing. And because it's your first aircraft, we're gonna go and we're going to filter out just a single engine piston landing certification, because we can't get anything else. And then you can choose, like, you can go with a Cessna 152, or you'll want to take a look at the range it has, and then you'll also want to look at speed. This is what the AI is going to go with when it's at cruising speed. You might be able to go faster than that, but the AI pilots, that will be their cruising speed. And then the max payload. Max payload does not include ripping out the seats. And over here it shows you the seats. What I want is I want the Piper PA 24 Comanche. So here the max price to buy, it's going to be $297,300. It's got a maximum payload of 1,300 pounds. It's got a range of 1,200 nautical miles. 161 knots is the cruising speed, and it's got 5 seats. Let's click on that. And then you can click over here on economic details. This will give you more information specifically on, like, the economics of the plane, and it will give you a worst case scenario for, like, a low end pay, and then plus your expenses for the aircraft. So then down on the bottom here, you'll see that renting potential benefit is $401 per flight hour. Leasing is $343 per hour. And purchasing is $380 per hour. So based off of that, it's best to rent, then purchase, and then lease is the worst option. So we're going to go up here, display, sell, rent, and lease offers. This is going to give you roughly about 10 airports, or sorry, 10 aircraft within the area. You can actually change this. So this is 100 nautical miles around Falcon Field. So say want to put in 150, or let's say 400. I think this is, yeah, so now there's a lot more, but normally there's about 10 in your vicinity. We're gonna go back with 100 nautical miles, and you can actually change this up here So like if I want from Phoenix, I can do from Phoenix, but we're going to do it from Falcon Field. Let's search the database. And there is last time I did this, there was one right at Falcon Field, but there isn't this time around. I think the closest is going to be this airport, Stellar Airport. It's a size 1, but I don't really need proximity because your first aircraft, they're going to transport you for free. They get you to that aircraft, but then after that, if you ever need to transport again, you're gonna have to pay that cost. Go to KTAF. The other thing is you're gonna get because this is your first aircraft, you're actually gonna get a mission. It's a level mission that will take you back to Falcon Field. So go with I'd say let's go with this one because the rent price is 600, which is the lowest. It is, the airframe is getting old, but we're not gonna have this forever because eventually I'll want to buy it or I'll want to upgrade to something much bigger than this aircraft. And then the next annual checkup, it's in 193 days. So yeah, it's pretty good. So this is at Ernest A. Love Field. So it's a size 3 airport. And it's at 5,000 elevation. So, and then you can see here, the sell price is a lot higher than some of these other ones. But the condition is it's quite good. The main thing is like if you don't have a Comanche, that's completely fine. You'll just have to choose something else. You might have to go with something that's like default from the simulator. But the other thing that I want to show you just before we purchase this is you can click here on compatible add-ons. So this is showing you that can either get this aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator from 8A or in P3D version 4 Plus from 8A. But P8 28 Turbo Aero, that you can get from Just Flight. Actually, all of them are all Just Flight. But here you could use the Turbo Aero 3 or you could use the Turbo Aero 4. So there's like slight variations. And the thing is like I just bought Captain Sib's hot air balloon. It's not in here. I could submit it and I have to submit some evidence on the payload and stuff like that. But I could send it in and then OnAir company, they can then decide if they want to bring it in. And you can also because there's the sources, they'll give you the sources, but you can also see that put in a change request. So these change requests, the change request is from players saying that the configuration should be changed and this is why, and then you can vote it, and then OnAir company then decides, has the final decision on that. So but when you are looking for an aircraft, you want an aircraft that has hopefully all 3 of these: GPS, autopilot, and pitot heat or some kind of heating, because when it does get cold, the engines need to be, you can't get frost on your windows because then you're just going to die out. And I also learned it in the Comanche. in the Comanche, I've flown it 3 times in the last 2 days, and all of a sudden it just drops from the sky on me, and I'm like, "What's up with this?" Well, in all 3 instances, I then found out what it was. I thought it was like, oh well, the damage or something, but it's like I've had. I might have like I've got less than 5 hours on the aircraft, so it can't be a failure. What it is that the carb heat, you need to put the carb heat on, because if there's any kind of moisture in that aircraft, they at high altitude it then starts to freeze, and then the engine starts to stall out, and then you're toast. So yeah, now I know I need the carb heat. So we're gonna go back in here, display the options, and we're gonna go with this one, which is to earn us a love field, and we're gonna rent it. The renting bond is $6,000. So, and it's a minimum of 1 hour per day, so 600 per day. This 6,000 we pay it up front as our deposit. Once we return to plane, then we'll get our $6,000 back. So let's go rent that. And the other thing is, you want to check this because it'll teleport your pilot to the aircraft location and generate a return job. And I hover over this. This is your first aircraft you can transport for free at its location. The job fitted for the aircraft is provided to avoid returning empty to your base. And what we're going to do here is you can set up your seat configuration, but yet you can't, have 3 first class seats and 2 economic seats, because now your occupied surface is more than 100%. So we could do this. It then gives us the extra cargo space. But what I would recommend is that we forgot to do this, and I think that this will actually help us out. This will help us. I forgot to do the skill tree, and previous iterations of this, what I've done on the skill tree is you've got 1 skill point that you can distribute right off the bat. I always go for the bank loan, so then you have access to that. But you can also go with FBO, a passenger license, so then that unlocks jobs with passengers, or hiring AI pilots or employees, freelancers. But I normally always go with the bank loans. But when I tried this out, and then I had to restart. Well, the first level mission, I put in seats, and then the level mission job gave me passengers, so a mix of passenger and cargo. And I had here bank loan agreement. I didn't have my passenger license, so I couldn't even do that flight. So, and then the experience points, I would have to fly a lot before I would get enough experience points to get to the next level and get 2 more skill points. So what I'm going to do in this case instead is, right off the bat, let's just go with passenger license. Go on the bottom here, click on save, and then that way we get this renting, and we'll put 3 first class. Thing is if you have 3 people that want eco seats, you can always upgrade them to first class. They'll be happy, but yeah, can't give them first class eco seats because they're not going to take that. So we'll go with this now. It'll give us a little bit of extra cargo capacity. so an extra 126 pounds. Confirm that. So then you get your notification on the bottom that you're now renting and where that aircraft is. So this is your aircraft. You can always get to your aircraft up here. It's a shortcut. And then this is the live operations map. And then the other one, this one is the jobs one. So this is where we are. APRC. And okay, so then so we'll be flying down here to Falcon Field. These are our base camps. This is part of the industries. We'll be talking about that in a later part of our tutorial series. Because these have just been added just in the last couple of months. Fuel, we got 31 gallons on board. Okay. Let's go back to our homepage, our dashboard. And now we've got first job. We've got one pending job. And so that pending job will be from our from Ernest A. Love Field, the Falcon Field. Click the plus sign. It'll actually show you the what the job is. So it's first passenger transport and first cargo delivery. This here looks like a chess piece, but that's supposed to be a joystick, and that means that it cannot be flown by an AI pilot. It has to be flown by a human. So either you or someone, another human within your virtual airline. So this is the job we're going to do, and then you can click here to start the flight, and then in the next video we're going to actually talk about executing this flight. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'd be glad to discuss that further in the comments, or also I might do a separate video to answer that question. But that's it for this video. Make sure to smash that like button, especially if you liked it and you're listening to this at this point. If not, I'm not sure why you're here. But and then if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because then you'll get and hit the bell notification. That way you'll know when the next video comes out or when I go into a live stream. But again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in episode 3 of our tutorial series with OnAir Airline Manager. Thanks a lot. See you then.